Hey there, welcome to Gals Get Real, where real women, real stories, and real talk come together. I'm Meghan.
I'm Kristin. Between us, we have 9 adult children with 6 daughters. Let's open up the conversations we never had with our moms and flip the script with the kind of connections we want with each other and our daughters.
We're here to laugh, cry, and dive into all the things, from everyday shifts to the curveballs and life pivots, and the messy, magical moments that make us who we are. So today we are getting real about something that's not an everyday experience, but it is truly fascinating and may make you feel differently about your everyday life. I know it has made me feel different about my everyday life. So it's called NDE, and that stands for a near-death experience. Now, 80 to 90% of near-death experiences report the event as even more real than real life itself, which is crazy. So another interesting fact is that people of all ages and cultures report similar elements of NDE.
And I've heard all religions too.
Correct. All religions. Yes, I left that out. But exactly. All ages, cultures, and religions basically describe a near-death experience as basically being the same or very similar, which means that this really is, for anybody that it happens to, a universal experience, which is kind of wild.
It's really wild.
Right? Okay. So the person that I am interviewing about this today, very exciting, is my partner and my dear friend, Kristin.
And don't you worry, Meghan, your time will come.
Yes, you will get me back.
I will not be interviewing you. And there are many topics to consider.
Of course there are, but probably none quite as fascinating as this one. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about sort of how you initially found yourself in this circumstance that led to your near-death experience?
Yeah, I'll just sort of put you back in place in time. I have 4 kids. And way back when they were 2nd grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, and 10th grade.
So they were young.
And this is in 2013.
Wow.
And this was a Friday the 13th in 2013.
Stop it. So it happened, or it began Friday the 13th of 2013.
Correct.
That's kind of nuts. Are you superstitious?
I mean, I am now.
Right.
Jeez.
Right. That's crazy.
So on that evening, I sprained my ankle. Okay. And within a week's time, that injury got infected. It became necrotizing fasciitis, which is the media calls it the flesh-eating disease.
Okay.
And it turned into sepsis. So my whole body was shutting down.
Wow.
Right. So
sepsis is so dangerous.
It's so dangerous. And the odds are, not always in the favor of the person experiencing sepsis,
yes.
Right? So when I felt my body shutting down, I asked to go to hospital. And I lived in a town at the time, Darien, Connecticut, that has well-trained, community funded and run first responder team.
Oh, wow.
So it is kids, remarkable. And it is...
Yeah, that is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And adults also running the organization. So when this ambulance squad showed up at my place in responding to our call, I knew some of the folks.
Oh,
I know. And it really makes it special because what I later learned is that my blood pressure was bottoming out, which is often the case with sepsis. And also very difficult to stay awake in this ambulance ride.
yes.
Not too far to Stanford Hospital, but took every ounce of effort they had to keep me awake. And really, we got to the hospital okay. The last thing I remember is being in the elevator on the way up to whatever pre-surgical procedure was needed. And 3 surgeries later, apparently, and 5 days later.
Wait, so you were asleep for 5 days?
Right, that's right. So I was really.
Did they put you in an induced coma?
They did. They put me in a medically induced coma. However, again, my last memory was being in that elevator ride, barely awake.
And why did they want to keep you awake? Just
Probably, I really don't know the answer to that, only to assume that until you're in the hands of the team.
Sure.
Right. And you're being monitored. Although I imagine once you're in a hospital, especially one like Stanford Hospital, you're well cared for. And if anything happens, absolutely, they're ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. So then you're in the elevator, you're fading. And then what's your next memory?
I'm fading. So then my next memory is about halfway through those 5 days, I hear my friend and pastor's voice. And I say to myself, okay, what the heck is my pastor doing in my presence? I mean, meanwhile, I have no idea what my presence is.
So you didn't even know you were in the hospital?
I didn't know I was in the hospital. I mean, I could have just been sleeping in my bed, sleeping on a beach. I just hear her voice. So I'm like, geez, amazing. I mean, if your pastor speaks to you, you listen and you want to respond. So I opened my eyes. Geez, it was hard to keep those eyes open. I was like, what is going on? She's like, hey. She's like, do you remember a conversation that we had recently about grace? And I was like, yes. And she said, well, I want you to have that grace right now. And I said, okay. And she said, and meanwhile, I'm just trying as hard as I possibly can to keep my eyes open. And she says, your community, bunch of your friends and family, we were all in our chapel praying for you. And we were raising our fists to heaven saying, not her time to go.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps.
And so just remember the people that love you and just hold on to that grace.
Wow.
And at that point, I couldn't hold on to keeping my eyes open any longer. I just went back to sleep and that was it. But we have since talked about it and cried over it and laughed over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was impactful. I mean, it's amazing that she was actually there and by your bedside.
It really was. And it was also kind of amazing grace, amazing to say, or that we had a conversation about grace.
So after your nice convo with your pastor, you dozed back off, and then what do you remember next?
I just remember this bright, warm light waking me up and just super powerful, super appealing. It just drew me into this space. And I remember thinking, I should be blinded by this. And I'm just drawn to it.
Wow.
And it pulled me into a place that felt like a Mediterranean bistro. Like there were little lights everywhere. There was some sort of calming, I guess you would call it Mediterranean style music. I don't even know. The anticipation of an ocean over what seemed to be a cliff. I was just being pulled through this space of all these low lights. And
so it wasn't actually sort of a Mediterranean town with tables, but that was sort of the vibe?
That was the vibe.
Okay.
At the time, it might as well have been.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I was being pulled slowly through this beautiful space. It was like senses on fire, everything appealing to my sight, to my ears, just the feeling. And then I was going around this corner and I had this anticipation of just the most remarkable excitement and like, oh my gosh, like, where am I going and who am I going for? Like, who am I about to meet now? And I mean, at the time I was newly divorcing. So I kind of equate it to like the feeling of an exciting blind date.
Yes.
Right. And I'm like, who is this? And I can just describe it as, just remember it like it was yesterday. Like my heart just felt like it was exploding, just exploding open. I just felt so much goodness. And just as I made my way around this corner to meet whatever this situation was that I was coming into, I got yanked out and pulled back through that space, just like as if being pulled backwards really quickly. Boom. And I just saw my kids' faces from oldest to youngest, Carrie, Katie, Ryan, Chloe. Bam, just pulled up. I don't know whether I physically pulled up in my hospital bed or whether in my mind it just felt like I pulled up. And I just had their faces in front of me. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, thank God this pain is mine and not theirs.
Oh my God.
And I had like the biggest sense of relief.
Wow. And that any good mother would feel that. But at the same time, did you want to leave?
No, good question. At the time, I thought to myself, did the babysitter leave early? Like, why am I having to leave this hot date to go see my kids? I did not want to leave that space or that feeling.
Right. Because the feeling sounds amazing.
Amazing.
And you remember it like it was yesterday?
Like it was yesterday. And just, yeah, it exploded everything open in me that you could possibly feel.
Wow. That's amazing. So then once you're back sort of in reality, you're back, your kids have drawn you back. And I assume, I mean, was the feeling or the sensation that they weren't ready to let you go?
I think so. I mean, if I have to guess, I feel like my kids were my purpose in that moment.
Right.
And still continue to be.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Wow. So then you're back. Your kids are there waiting for you. Everybody's joyous and so happy that you're coming to. What was sort of you sort of actually waking up and realizing potentially what had happened? Or how did you sort of figure all of that out?
Well, it's like the medical shows, right? They're like day, time. What day and time is it? How many fingers do I have up? Do you remember the day and time? And how many more fingers? Okay, what's the day and time? And it is shocking because every time it's like you have to refocus. And it really does take all your mental fortitude to answer the basic questions. And then you start to realize, okay, I guess I'm waking up because I now remember it's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happened, it's also simultaneously to the thought of like, well, shoot, where am I? I mean, okay, great, I'm waking up, but it's not my bedroom, right?
Did you feel like it was a hospital or you were just still confused?
I was still confused. And then eventually I think I'm in a hospital. And I started asking, what am I doing here? Like, why am I here? And oh my gosh, I had a sprain. I wonder if it's better. So I started asking those questions. And one by one, my family members or friends would just kind of escape the room or, I know you're cold. Let us cover you up. Or you're tired. My mom would say, you're tired. Why don't you just go back to sleep?
Right. Go back to sleep. Nobody wanted to deliver.
Nobody wanted
this
to deliver.
life-altering news.
My sister and my mom were in the room at one point. I was more and more awake, getting more and more frustrated that I didn't understand why I was there. And, asked the question, why am I here? And is my ankle okay? And, my mom would like scurry out of the room, leaving my sister behind to like deliver the news. And of course, my sister would be gone.
Yes. All of a sudden she was thirsty and had to get you guys.
All of a sudden, everybody was gone.
Yeah.
They had been by my side for 6 days, but all of a sudden they're gone.
Which I get. I mean, as a mom, I would never, or as a sister, I would never want to have to deliver that type of news. But I guess that leads me to, so how did you finally find out that your leg had been amputated? And I mean, it's amputated high up. They took your basically entire leg.
They did, exactly. So to save my life with the sepsis and such, I mean, they tried 3 surgeries, as I said, but they did end up taking my leg. And so apparently they had put together a team to share this news with me, right? I mean, it was going to be maybe the pastor and the surgeon and my mother, my husband, who at the time I had just filed for divorce.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was going to be a team of people. And every time I'd wake up, either they weren't all there or they'd all be there and they couldn't get me awake. So finally, he was in the room, my soon-to-be ex-husband. And I said to him, whatever happened to my sprained ankle? And he said, you know what? He said, it got so bad and you got so sick from it that, Kristin, honestly, we had to take your leg to save your life.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me.
And that was your reaction. I mean, I guess in a way it was a gift because you finally sort of straight up and honestly
I can't tell
knew.
you. I was so happy to have the information. And I was really grateful and still am for that honesty.
Right. Because that was an act of kindness, really.
Absolutely.
You needed to hear that.
Absolutely.
Wow. And what were your emotions at that time? Do you even remember? Just
No, not the level of shock or surprise that you would think you would have. And I've later learned there's probably a lot of reasons for that. We have coping mechanisms, right? There are drugs that they use to regulate reaction to trauma.
oh, interesting.
There's also something to be said for whispering in someone's ear when they are in a coma or they're unconscious, because apparently the brain can process things. So, for example, if my surgeon or doctor was telling me, even though I was sleeping and dreaming about places in the Mediterranean, if they are telling me those things while I'm in that state. So, a nurse or my surgeon was preparing me for what I was going to wake up to. So it's an interesting science behind that. So then at this point, I'm starting to get used to the news. I am starting to get used to my schedule. And it's one night shortly after at around dusk. And I wake up and I start talking to the person sitting in the chair, visiting with me. And I'm trying to figure out who it is. It's a male figure, or so appears to be. And I just am like, who is brother? Like, who is this? So the person says, you've got this. And I was like, well, that's a hell of a greeting. Wait, that's all you got to offer me? I've got this?
That's all he said.
That's all he said. I was like, oh my gosh. So then the next day at dusk, same things happens. I wake up. It's like this figure. I feel like it looks like a male. I'm squinting. It's hard for me to make it out again. And this time I say to them, I know, I've got this. Half believing it, half not. And that was it. And it turns out no one was ever sitting in that chair.
Stop.
But I can tell you, the you've got this came to me as clear as if you were saying it right now into your microphone.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's just so crazy. And the whole story, I mean, I just have goosebumps again. But now that you know what happened and you're sort of more with the program, looking back, do you think you had any premonitions, intuitions, as Oprah would say, aha moments that you may have sort of seen or thought about after the fact once this whole crazy experience happened to you?
It's such an interesting topic because as I was recovering and I went on to a rehab hospital, and it does really make you think about these things because I was going through and still am the various stages of processing all this. And I started to almost immediately look back and say, wait a minute, now that oddball comment makes sense, or that weird feeling. What did that mean? And I'll just give you two examples. I mean, right before I sprained my ankle, I had been taking dance in Stanford.
How fun. What kind of dance?
Flip ballroom dancing, partner
Love
dancing.
it. Oh, that's
so much fun.
Yeah.
So I was leaving one of my sessions and it was in Stamford, Connecticut, downtown. Lots of busy traffic and foot traffic. And as I was crossing the street to get to my car, I was watching everybody walking around saying to myself, oh my gosh, we are just walking around here. I just finished dancing and we're just walking, crossing streets. Do we all know how lucky we are to just be walking? Like, that's it.
Right. I do think that, having known you, I do think that every morning when I get up, I'm like, I never would have thought that just getting up, walking to go brush my teeth, we all take a lot of that for granted, I think.
Yeah. And I did too, up until that moment.
And that was how long before?
It was within the month or two prior.
Okay.
The other thing that happened just literally like a week prior went to a concert, outdoor venue, because remember, this happened to be again in September, so this is the end of summer concert, one of those big amphitheaters. And the parking's all over the place, long distance from the theater. The theater, this particular theater, the food stands are like on one side of the hill from like you kind of go up the hill and back down to get to the stage. And I said to myself and turned to my friend and said the same, like, how do people who aren't as mobile get to do this? I mean, this parking, that was a long walk. This hill's tough. I mean, getting up this hill and back down, how do people do that are just not as physically fit or able to do so? How do they do it?
Interesting. And what was your friend's reaction?
She was just like, oh, I don't know. We've got a concert to get to. Why are you pontificating?
Right.
Now?
A normal response.
Totally normal.
Exactly.
And I always said to myself, what are you doing? Like,
what is with me?
Yeah,
why do I keep thinking about
right.
this?
So off I went, and the rest is history for that night anyway. The other thing is the grace comment.
Yes.
I had left my pastor's office. Again, we were friends. I walked out, kind of stopped, walked back in, and just said to her, I have one more question for you. Like, what is grace? Like, it's a cool word. I've heard it explained different ways. I don't really understand it. It's rather abstract to me. Can you just give me your take on it?
Wait, this was prior to?
Yes. That's why when she visited me in the hospital, she referenced our conversation.
She was referencing your conversation. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right. Pretty amazing.
That's actually completely amazing. I mean, the whole story is just amazing. And would you say that all of this feels, when you think or talk about it, does it just sort of feel like yesterday?
It's definitely a moment in time. Yeah. It's hard to believe it's been this many years. I mean, it's been over 12 years.
12 years?
Well, let's see. Just about 12 years.
Just about 12 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, listen, Kristin, we are so happy that you are here with us to share.
Well, thank you, Meghan.
This amazing
too.
journey. Of course. I mean, you must have you are a ray of sunshine. And I feel like, is it fair to say that this experience has sort of, although it's life altering and it's made so many things so difficult, it's sort of given you this brighter outlook or more appreciative outlook on life?
I would say that's fair. It's definitely put things in perspective.
Yes, that's the better way to say it.
And given me an understanding of really myself also. Other people too, of course. But yeah, just what people are capable of and also how important people are to each other. I mean, people would say, oh my goodness, how are you doing this? I'm like, first of all, you don't understand that you would be able to do this too. You just don't know it because it didn't happen to you.
Right.
The second thing I say, and by the way, both of these observations can be applied to so many lives in so many circumstances. It just so happens we're talking about this one. But the other thing I say, again, across the board, is we can do certain things, but we do it better with other people. I mean, I could not have done most of my recovery, if not all of it, as well without a team of 5, whoever it was, medical or not, family, friends, community,
right,
outreach to strangers. All of that adds up to making 120% difference.
I bet. But I will say you're very inspirational, because I do think for some people, it's harder than others to sort of get to that place when something so traumatic happens.
There are a lot of factors that they've started to uncover that will lend themselves to someone's recovery. And I think that would be a great episode because, again, we all have experienced some sort of transition or trauma, varying degrees, varying levels, but we also have varying responses for different reasons.
Yes.
So that's why never negate anything anyone's going through, because you really don't know what it's doing to their emotions or psyche or well-being.
Right. And that's wonderful to say that, because the truth is we don't. And a lot of people will say, like, you just have no idea. You've not until you've walked in their shoes.
Until
and you
you've walked in
clearly
their shoes.
Can never really walk in their shoes because we're all individual. But at least with
or
you,
shoe,
the limb
as the case
loss,
may be.
right, or shoe.
And even still, I have friends who walk in my shoe,
right,
and they've handled it much more positively than I feel I have. And there's other people who unfortunately have sort of crawled up and succumbed to it. So
exactly. This leads me to, I'm very excited about this. Jody Wellman is going to be joining us on our podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. Her TED Talk is called How Death Can Bring You Back to Life. And I think one of the messages in the talk that's absolutely amazing, absolutely awesome, is when she says, remembering we will die is the secret to a well-lived life. And I think that's a little bit of what you experienced.
Pause on that. Can you repeat that?
Of course. So the nugget that we loved was remembering we will die is the secret to a life well lived.
It's good.
Right? It's really, really good. And I think that it speaks to you and probably speaks to many. I mean, whether you've had trauma, whether you've been diagnosed with a disease, because the truth is, if you have, then you do have a different lens into what it looks like to be here. And if you haven't, it's a great reminder. Do it, get out there, experience it.
Yeah, just use other people's experiences to learn from. That's why sharing is so important.
Sharing is so important.
Use it as your reminder, or just move in that moment and feel it, right?
Fantastic. All right, listen, Kristin, thank you so much for sharing. More to come because we will have some experts or guests on to talk a little bit more about trauma, which I think will be helpful and interesting for people since so many people have been through that.
When you've lived as long as we have.
Yes. There's some truth to that. We know that there are literally a million podcasts out there, and so many of them are so, so good. We'd love for you to tell your friends, daughters, and all the women in your life to tune in, get real, and share all the things.
Yes, share your stories with us by DMing and following us on Instagram at Gals Get Real Pod. And please subscribe, like, and share wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, lots of love.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.